This week on The Facts, end of an era. A volunteer fire station in Hammonds Plains closes.
More Nova Scotians are sipping local wines.
And a viral video encourages girls to think about engineering.
Hello, thanks for tuning into The Facts. I'm Mo Hashim.
And I'm Jen Cameron. We're coming to you from our newsroom at the University of King's College.
Our top story this week. Not many people are eager to run into a burning building. Volunteer firefighters have important jobs, but their numbers have been falling for years. And that means fewer stations. Sarah Larnuk reports.
The fire hall in Upper Hammonds Plains is one of 5 stations closing its doors this fall. People in the community had a chance to come out and voice their concerns last Thursday.
Is that part of the building, or is that going to go somewhere else when you guys pull out of here?
We're not going to put it back in service.
We've identified these fire stations as being substations of other stations. We have no active volunteers, and the call volume in these stations is so low, it doesn't make sense to continue to operate.
The station is one of 5 substations closing in HRM, and yet Halifax Regional Fire is guaranteeing the same level of service and no increase in insurance rates.
Unfortunately, with the decline in membership and a lot of people not volunteering their time because of the commitment.
The demand for volunteers is high, and the competition is great. There's many other volunteer organizations who are looking for volunteers, and we ask a lot of our volunteers before we allow them to volunteer. There's a lot of training involved.
At one time we might have had 10, 15 members, and they slowly either got older, and didn't want to do it anymore, or they slowly moved out of the community.
The fire station has been underused for about 10 years, and with the Hammonds Plains fire station just down the road, keeping the substation open isn't something that makes sense anymore. But even though it's closing, this station has a special place in the community.
This is a sentimental place. It's a special place. You see the plaque behind me. It says this was the first black fire station in Canada. So that's what it means. It's about history. In this case, the fire station being closed isn't a service issue. It's a sentimentality issue.
For the next couple of years, the fire hall will be used as a storage building for Halifax Regional Fire. But the people in Upper Hammonds Plains hope that afterwards the building can be made into a museum to commemorate black firefighters. For The Facts, I'm Sarah Larney.
For more on this story, visit our website. We'll give you the link at the end of this show.
7 Nova Scotians received the province's Medal of Bravery this past week. The medal is awarded to Nova Scotians who risked their lives to help others. 4 of the medals went to divers who braved the elements last February to search the wreckage of a capsized fishing boat, the Miss Alley. They dove in rough seas to search for the bodies of missing crewmen.
We just did what we felt we had to do and was asked to do, and there was no question that we weren't going to do it. And we never felt that we were doing anything special or deserving of anything other than maybe thanks at the best.
Mahaney says the search helped the families come to terms with what happened.
Protesters greeted international politicians and security experts outside a conference this week in downtown Halifax. About 20 people were downtown protesting the Halifax International Security Forum, which was held at the Westin Hotel this weekend.
If we are successful as we must be, the men and women in that hotel will someday live in infamy.
The rally drew several speakers and activists from the community. They covered a range of topics.
Gaza still gets bombed almost every day.
So that's why we're here. We want to draw the links between militarism and environmental destruction.
White supremacism, which has driven our condition, the policing of our neighborhoods, Big Brother supervision.
These people have nothing to teach.
Alan Bezanson has been helping organize this protest since it started 5 years ago.
Are the leaders, Bay Street in Canada? Or are the leaders the Canadian working class and people? There are no representatives of the leaders of the Canadian people in that building today.
Bezanson says that as long as Halifax keeps hosting this forum, he'll be there protesting it.
Pizza, drinks, and networking. An event in Halifax brought students and startup companies together. Matt Weber was there.
It's not quite a job interview, but it's a start. Harry Brook will graduate from Dalhousie with a commerce degree this year, and he is on the hunt for a job.
If there's going to be any situation in which you could get something out of it, I think this would be it.
Dalhousie teamed up with the venture capital company InnovaCorp to match startup companies with students.
They may not even know that these opportunities exist unless we make these connections.
John McGinley works for Livelands, a restaurant performance improvement company. He was able to connect with a number of promising students.
I think we found a lot of people that are very interesting to us in a couple of different capacities. There's a few developers that had expressed some interest. There's a few database people that we think could be a good fit.
McGinley sees the value in hiring students.
They don't come with that personal baggage or bias that maybe they're embarrassed or whatever, and you know, it's just the enthusiasm that I love, and in a startup, that's the kind of that's what you really need.
Brooke knows the risk of joining up with a startup company, but also sees the benefits.
I also think the payoff would be a lot bigger, both professionally and in other ways, if the business were to succeed.
Many of the students I talked to tonight said that even if they don't get a job from the event, experience with networking will help them with their future endeavors. For The Facts, I'm Matt Weber.
Locals and experts are raving about the quality of some Nova Scotian wines. The industry is robust. Jen has more.
Happy Hour in Halifax has a more distinct Nova Scotia taste. Part owner and wine expert here at Oplady Wine Bar says Nova Scotia wine is standing up to the wines of the world.
We try to pepper the list with as many good local wines as possible. Normally they tend to be what I feel are Nova Scotia's sort of main claim to fame, the white, fresh, crisp, aromatic style. We're seeing much more of an appreciation and an understanding of those wines. We're seeing more people that drink the wines at home and people actually requesting those wines. So definitely very important to support that industry. Otherwise it won't flourish. I actually think they're very, very good. World-class, really, whites that go great with food from Nova Scotia as well.
The quality of Nova Scotia wine is beginning to get recognized at an international and national level. Here at Bishop Cellar, they provide wine to over 250 restaurants and bars. With a large local selection, they explain how this industry is beginning to boom.
We've been growing double-digit year over year in the growth of what we've been selling for local wines. 5 years ago, local wine was given as a gift or a novelty, and then people started to try it for themselves in the last few years, and now people are coming in to buy local to drink it on an everyday basis. Probably 80 to 90% of what is spent on local stays local. We're typically known to be able to produce very good white wines and sparkling wines. Benjamin Bridge, tasting after tasting, they're receiving, Best Sparkling in Canada nods. Wine Access used to be the largest Canadian wine awards, and our white wines are winning medals there.
A business analyst studying local wine networks says the industry is growing fast, but it still needs more support.
I collect information for my research in 2012, and in 2012 there were only 14 wineries. And now, 1 year later, there's 3 more. Or if I go to a restaurant, the first thing I do, I would look at the list of wines, and I would say, well, maybe some of these restaurants wouldn't have a Nova Scotian wine. So winemakers don't talk too much to restaurants, and restaurants don't talk too much to winemakers.
She says people are drinking Nova Scotia wine at home, and the next step will be to get them into restaurants. For The Facts, I'm Jennifer Cameron.
Still to come on The Facts, readers share stories of a Halifax landmark.
And we check out an unusual film festival. The Old City Library at the corner of Spring Garden and Queen Street is on its way out. There's a special project to collect memories from those who have curled up with its books over the years. Bria McDonald reports.
This building was Halifax's main library for 62 years. Soon, it will be closed for good. That's why Veronica Simmons started the Stack Stories Media Project.
Do you ever learn any languages from there?
She wants to build a virtual library of memories.
I feel like the human voice is the strongest and most powerful tool we have to share an experience or to share a feeling of a place.
Visitors tell their stories in a pop-up recording booth.
I'm looking for anything. It can be as small as someone talking about how wonderful and cold the water fountain is, to a woman who came in today and actually wrote a poem and shared a poem of her love for the library.
So far, Simmons has collected more than 30 stories. One of them is from Norma Corbett. As a librarian, she understands why a new library is needed, but she's nostalgic for the place where she's worked for 24 years.
This library's kind of like a comfy old slipper. You know, it's nicely broken in, and everyone knows it well, and have lots of mostly pleasant associations with it.
The next step for Simmons is to choose 16 stories that will be put into an interactive archive. It will be kept here at the new library so that community members can listen to it for years to come. For The Facts, I'm Bria McDonald.
Now, writing 1,600 words can be tough. But imagine writing that much every day for a month. A group of Halifax writers are taking part in the National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo. As Olivia Rempel reports, each of them is aiming to write a 50,000-word novel this month.
Writing support groups are not uncommon in coffee shops, especially during the month of November when NaNoWriMo is pushing writers to pump out that first draft. Shannon Fay organizes a Halifax-based support group for local participants.
Well, writing's a very solitary hobby, and this brings together a bunch of different writers and does so in a fun way which still motivates you to write. Usually November is very much the doldrums, there's not much going on, so it's something to look forward to in what would otherwise be a kind of bleak month.
I do a lot of scientific writing for my day job, and honestly, like, the practice at NaNoWriMo has given me a great eye for editing. I can now look at a paragraph and say, these 4 sentences are completely useless and we can just cut that out. I'd like to be published someday, but I'm just happy to, come in and, share some time with other writers.
This national event has gone worldwide, and these are just a few of the over 270,000 writers participating this year. Just in time for NaNoWriMo, Halifax is hosting book camp here at the Khyber Arts Centre. It's a free unconference that brings members of the book community from publishing to tech together.
It was really good to have a really good pitch.
Stephanie Domet wrote her first novel, Homing, during NaNoWriMo 10 years ago. Here at book camp, she's leading a session on just that, how to write a novel in 30 days.
Well, I think that often when you're just starting to write, it would be like trying to eat an elephant whole, when really you've got to, if you're writing, you have to eat the elephant very carefully, one bite at a time. So something like NaNoWriMo can give you a structure and a deadline and a community to whom you can be accountable. And I think that can be really helpful for writers who haven't developed those skills for themselves yet.
NaNoWriMo is a challenge of personal growth and pushing yourself into the writing world. And there's always the chance you could make it on the bookshelf with Stephanie Domet. For The Facts, I'm Olivia Rempel.
Dalhousie Student Theatre Company is ready for its biggest show of the year, Shakespeare's Pericles. Carly Connolly met up with the lead actor to see how he prepares for the big role.
The makeup room is busy a week before the biggest show of the season. Jackson Fallow plays Pericles in a travel play about family bonds. Fallow and the cast have been preparing for several weeks now, and for him, it's all about understanding the character.
The emotional mountains and psychological mountains that you have to climb with this character. He goes through many extremes of high and low through this 15-year journey of his life that the play spans. So we get to see some extremes of sorrow, of suffering and loss, and then redemption.
Hail, Diane!
As in most Shakespeare plays, Blair Williams, the director, says, language is the toughest obstacle to overcome.
So we spent the first week of rehearsal sitting around the table and just dissecting the text and looking for meaning, looking for rhythm, looking for assonance and other linguistic clues as to what the language means and what the characters are. Because in Shakespeare, the thought is the word is the action is the character. So if you can decipher the text, then you're well on your way.
On top of a full day of school, the acting students have been rehearsing 6 nights a week for 5 weeks, committing their time to putting on a good show to premiere November 26th. For the facts, I'm Carly Connolly.
Move over, Sundance. There's a new film fest in town. It's called the Outlier Film Festival. And as the name suggests, the films are a little bit different. Tracy Pelham has more.
When you start your own film festival, you have to do everything yourself. That includes the grunt work. But for someone who loves genre films, it's worth it.
I grew up watching a ton of horror movies with all my cousins, and there were just like really expressive, strange visual styles in every film that I didn't necessarily see in a lot of other styles of filmmaking.
Fans of gore will find plenty of monsters and fake blood. But Outlier also features documentaries about body parts and offbeat comedies.
There's a levity to a lot of that stuff where it's pretty jokey, even though it is about killing and all that kind of stuff.
There are plenty of films from all over, but the festival also gives East Coast filmmakers their chance to shine. There were so many local short films submitted, organizers gave them their own slot in the festival.
One of those short films is Presence, about a young musician who starts to lose his hearing, which drives him insane. It stars Glenn Matthews, who says without festivals like Outlier, it's hard to get exposure.
The alternative would be putting it on YouTube and going to your friend's house and standing over their shoulder while they watch your film, and that's just nowhere near as cool as having the lights go down and having a hush fall over the crowd.
With solid ticket sales and a few sold-out shows, organizers are looking for bigger venues and more films for next year. For the facts, I'm Tracy Pelham.
There's still more to come on The Facts.
Girls who build a spaceship.
A viral video inspires girls.
And we see what Christmas looked like 150 years ago.
If you've ever been to a toy store, you know what the girls' aisle looks like. Rows upon rows of dolls. One company is trying to change that and get girls thinking about engineering. Jennifer Grudich has more.
A new video was released last week by a small American toy company called Goldie Blox, and since then, the video has gone viral. In less than 7 days, their video has received nearly 8 million YouTube views. Their goal? To show the world that girls deserve more choices than dolls and princesses. Dr. Franz Odendahl is the chair for Women in Science and Engineering Atlantic. She says the video has been circulating amongst her colleagues. When she first saw it, she was thrilled.
We know that the earlier engagement starts, the better it is, and the more likely that somebody will carry on with those fields. So we hope that it takes off. There's certainly a lot of excitement amongst professional women.
Last Saturday, there was a robotics competition at the Discovery Center for second-year engineering students from St. Mary's University. Emma Ingram was part of the winning team. As one of 7 females in her class, she hopes more toy companies will inspire a new generation of scientists and engineers.
I think they should get girls into other kinds of toys rather than the typical Barbies and play stuff. I definitely think it's a great idea.
While it may be too late for the class of 2016, perhaps with the help of science and engineering-related toys, the class of 2026 will look a little bit more balanced. 6-year-old Elena loves watching the Goldie Blox video.
My favorite part is when the tea turns on the tap. That's cool. I want to be an engineer or a chemist.
Kids aren't the only ones who are fans of the Goldie Blox concept.
I think it's unfortunate that my daughter, until she saw the Goldie Blox commercials, wasn't interested at all in engineering. And the fact that she told you that she was interested in being an engineer floored me. Seeing women, or girls, I guess, acting in that role as builders and as creators is really powerful. But I don't know that she necessarily needs a girl-specific toy to do that with.
While their video seems to be getting through to people, Goldie Blox has another challenge ahead. It turns out they did not ask permission from the Beastie Boys to use their song, Girls. The band has filed a lawsuit against Goldie Blox for copyright infringement. For the facts, I'm Jennifer Grudich.
A new research project at Mount St. Vincent is helping immigrants frame their new lives. People from all over the world are taking pictures to help adjust to life in Canada. Jen has a story.
Immigrants and refugees who have been in Canada for less than 5 years are starting to communicate with pictures instead of words, with the help from the researchers at Mount St. Vincent University.
We've given cameras to community members. Most of the community members are refugees, and it's a way of the refugees to share their stories and their perspectives and really give voice to the experiences that they've had as refugees and as newcomers to Canada.
These newcomers are learning so much from this participant photography. It's helping them to meet new people and to work on their English skills. It's also providing them an opportunity to express themselves living in a new country.
When I came to Canada, everything is strange, and I don't have many friends when I came. So when I joined this program, and it helped me to settle here, not only in the photography skills, but also for the tips of how to learn the cultures here.
We are from different countries, from Middle East, from China, from Bhutan. We share our stories and we build up multicultural relations and we understand each other.
I do think that there's a lot more that we could be doing in terms of policy to make sure that newcomers to Canada are able to access social opportunities as well as learning opportunities. One of them has actually started a photo club in another university.
It encouraged me to pursue my dream because I'm not that confident before, and I learned many basic skills through this program, but they're really useful. And I created my own society, photography society, in the St. Mary's University.
Most exciting things that I've learned through this process is about the role of community gardens, and as one of our participants has pointed out, the Bhutanese community is very much agriculturally based.
Turns out, a picture really is worth 1,000 words. Participants get to take home copies of the pictures that they take, and they send them to their families across the world. For the facts, I'm Jennifer Cameron. The Pope takes them, and so does the Prime Minister of Australia. Their popularity and controversy has been exploding in the past few years. Megan Morelli got your opinions on selfies.
How does my hair look? Did you guys know that selfie got named Word of the Year this year by Oxford Dictionaries? It even beat out twerking. I'm standing here in Dell's social media lab to figure out what all the hype is about the shameless selfie. The social media lab tracks social networks like Twitter and Facebook. The director of the program made the software Sarah Vicentini is playing with right now. It maps social networks and turns them into colorful webs like this one.
If you don't like the photo, you just delete it and take another. And no one's really, or sometimes people aren't around to see you do it. So people can kind of go over and over until they find that image that they want to be, distributed of themselves. So it's very much changing the way in which kind of the self-portrait is being disseminated.
Vicentini says there are different views about how selfies can influence our identities. But the debate isn't just academic. 20-somethings disagree about whether or not we should be shamelessly snapping pics of ourselves.
If you have your boobs out and you're all, then I'm sort of like, well, come on, let's have some self-respect.
When someone, for example, like their entire Instagram is just like pictures of themselves, it seems a little bit self-obsessive.
Well, if you're sending a selfie to a guy, you want to look good, you want to look flirty, but if it's to your best friend, you want to look fun, funny.
There's definitely such thing as a bad selfie. It's the duck face for sure.
Can you do it?
I can try. It's kind of like...
They're selfies, right? So they're all about the self, the person, and I'm just not interested in that.
This past year, use of the word selfie grew 17,000%. You can find its official definition on oxforddictionaries.com.
Do you take selfies?
I have Snapchat, so sometimes I do, yeah.
For the facts, I'm Megan Morelli.
The Ghost of Christmas Past visited the Halifax Citadel this past weekend. Organizers gave us a peek at what Christmas looked like in the days of Queen Victoria.
Well, the thinking was our heritage mandate, which is to tell the stories of Canada's special heritage places, which is this is one of the key ones, really. It's the beginning of the traditions we have today. We think of some of these customs we have for Christmas as being ancient, but very much they were developed in the Victorian period. They took, ancient traditions from different cultures like the Dutch and the Germans and the English, and they put them together into our modern Christmas. That's when it started, with the wrapping paper and the gifts and the Christmas trees. It became popularized in this time period. So it's an important cultural watershed for Christmas, actually. We also have lots of volunteers who are volunteering with Parks Canada, who are here to perform and also help out with the craft room and help out with some of the things. So we've got there's three groups, basically, and they're all really enthusiastic about what we're doing. They're interested in history, heritage, and Christmas.
I just live here in the city, so I've come here as a kid, so it's fun to be able to come and dress up. I enjoy it a lot.
This is actually my first year doing it.
Okay.
I've never done Victorian Christmas before, but for us this is sort of the event that really closes out the year. So it is something I think that a lot of people do look forward to.
I actually got to give my list to Santa in person. And I even set off a few cannons.
If you forget your history, you forget who you are, you have no identity, you lose your identity, you lose your culture. It's not a good thing. We're here to keep that link. One of the phrases is, you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. So that's one of the mandates of Parks Canada.
There are lots more stories coming out of the King's Journalism School.
Listen to The Radio Room. It's on CKDU 88.1 FM, Monday to Thursday at 5 p.m.
The latest edition of The Commoner is in all the finest coffee shops and newsstands across Halifax.
And don't forget to check out unews.ca for up-to-date local, national, and international news.
That's our show. You can find more stories at thefacts.wordpress.com.
But before we go, we take you to the lighting of the Halifax Christmas tree. From the University of King's College, I'm Mo Hasham.
And I'm Jen Cameron. Thanks for watching.